Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're diving into a really powerful pattern in Go, middleware. Look, if you've ever built a web server, you've probably hit this wall, right? You need to do something on every single request, but you don't want to clutter up all your code. Well, guess what? Middleware is the super clean answer you've been looking for. So let's just jump right into a classic problem. Picture this. You're building a web app, and you need to log every single visit, every request. What's your first instinct? Probably to just drop a line of logging code into every single handler. But you and I both know that's a recipe for disaster, right? It's messy, it's repetitive, there's gotta be a better way. So how do we do this cleanly? And that better way is, you guessed it, middleware. So to really get our heads around it, let's start with the official definition. Okay, so the definition says a middleware takes an HTTP.handler func, wraps it, and returns a new HTTP.handler func. Whoa, okay, that's a mouthful, and all that handler func stuff can sound pretty academic. But don't worry, forget the jargon for a second. The core idea is actually super simple, and we're gonna break it down with a little story. Trust me, it might sound a bit complex at first, but the idea itself is incredibly simple and really, really powerful. It's going to change how you think about organizing your code. So to make this whole thing click, let's step away from the code for just a minute. We're going to use a simple analogy to build a mental model. All right, first up, imagine your main web logic. You know, the part that does the actual work, like getting user data from a database or saving a blog post. Let's think of that as a very important person, a VIP. This is the ultimate destination, the person every request wants to talk to. But here's the thing about VIPs. They're busy, right? They can't just talk to anyone who shows up. So standing at the door, there's a security guard. And that security guard, yep, that's our middleware. The guard's job is super important. They process every single visitor, which is our web request, of course, before they can get anywhere near the VIP. Maybe the guard writes down their name in a logbook. Maybe they check an ID to see if they're on the guest list. The key takeaway here is that this check happens for everyone, and it happens first. Okay, pretty simple story, right? A VIP and a security guard. Now, let's bring it all back to the code and connect those dots to that technical definition we saw earlier. And this is where it all comes together. The security guard, that's our middleware function. The VIP, that's your original handler, the code that does the real work. And the whole process, the guard doing their thing and then passing the visitor on to the VIP, that's the brand new wrapped handler. See how that works? So when you hear people say middleware wraps your logic, this is exactly what they're talking about. It's not changing your original VIP code at all. It's just putting a security guard in front of it. It adds a layer of behavior around the original function. And we can actually trace the flow of a request. So step 1, the request arrives. But does it go straight to your main logic? Nope. Step 2, the middleware intercepts it. It's the security guard. Step 3, the middleware does its thing. In this case, it logs the visit. And only then, in step 4, does it call the original handler, our VIP. Finally, the response goes back out. It's such a clean, predictable sequence. Okay, so that's how it works. But the bigger question is, why is this so important? Why is this pattern such a big deal in web development? And here's the big takeaway. Middleware lets you separate your concerns. Think about it. Your main handler, the VIP, should only have to worry about its one job. It shouldn't care about logging or authentication or anything else. The middleware takes care of all that other stuff. This keeps your code incredibly clean, easy to test, and super reusable. And this is way bigger than just logging requests. What else can middleware do? Oh, so much. You can check if a user is logged in. You can compress responses to make your site faster. You can add security headers to every single page. I mean, literally any task you need to do over and over again, middleware is probably the answer. So that brings us to one last thought to leave you with. We've talked about how useful one security guard is, but what if you had a whole team of them? You know, one guard to log the visit, a second one to check their ID, and a third one to run a security scan, all before they get to the VIP. That's called chaining middleware, and that's where things get really interesting. But hey, that's a story for another day. Thanks so much for tuning in.